All right, pressure's on NASCAR. NASCAR needs to act right now before they kill someone on the racetrack. I'm not kidding. Alex Bowman is out of the car for this weekend and maybe the rest of 2022. What can NASCAR do? What do they need to do? And why haven't they done it yet with safety in these new cars? We'll break it down today on Shifting Gears. I'm Alan Bailey, and before we get started, make sure you smash that subscribe button to stay up to date on the latest videos and log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for the latest on this and other breaking motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. So, over the weekend, NASCAR was at Texas, absolute garbage race where we saw a lot of tire issues, particularly right rear issues, when cars would spin out and rear it into the fence. This doesn't look like that big a deal, right? At least that's what we all thought in the moment, but it turns out, because of this crash, Alex Bowman is out of the 48 Chevy for this weekend at Talladega with concussion-like symptoms. This is the second NASCAR driver in 2022 to be out of a playoff contending spot due to concussion-like symptoms. But let's talk about Alex Bowman first. He put out this tweet saying, "After undergoing medical evaluation due to concussion-like symptoms, I will not be driving the number 48 Ally Chevrolet in Talladega. I'm disappointed, but I know my health is my number one priority. I'm also committed to follow all medical guidance to ensure I can return to competition as soon as possible." Alex Bowman. It honestly doesn't look like that bad of a crash, but here's the thing, it is. At least it was in the cockpit. Check out this camera angle. Look at that, right there. Doesn't that look like it hurt? Let's slow it down and you really get a look at how violent this is. That right there is where those concussion-like symptoms started. For Alex Bowman, I honestly feel like I'm watching somebody that almost died. Seriously, because he could have. This is where we are in NASCAR, where these simple little crashes are so devastating. Check out this real-time audio of Alex in the car. Listen to his tone, not just his words. And the words are pretty damning, too.
Hang on to it. Head back, head back. Keep it up there. Keep it up there. We're in the wall, guys. Keep it up there. Let the field come by before you come down pit road. Hang on a sec here.
Done. I can't drive the rest of the day.
All the way down. Hang on. If you can come down here, come on. What's wrong, buddy? Come on, nobody else coming to you guys.
I don't understand how this thing's still rolling. That's the hardest I've crashed anything in my entire life.
10-4. You just hit in the worst spot on these cars, bud.
Hardest I've crashed anything in my entire life? Are you kidding me? That's how violent this crash was? I mean, my gosh, that looked like nothing. And in NASCAR trying to redesign this car, they might be killing these drivers. The damning thing is that Alex Bowman is a young, very healthy person. So that goes to show how bad this impact was. Now you take a look at Kurt Busch, who is an older driver, nearly twice Bowman's age. And yet, this doesn't look that bad either. But this is what put Kurt Busch out for essentially the rest of 2022, and maybe the rest of his career. This could be career-ending for Kurt Busch. Is anyone else hurt with some of these crashes that we saw? I'm willing to bet there's at least one or two of them playing hurt. Not because, I'm toughening it out, but because they know that if they admit that they're hurt, especially if they're in a contract year, or if you're a driver that hasn't really found success in the Cup Series yet, you're fighting for your career out there, your well-being. Yeah, I wouldn't admit that I was playing hurt. If I was in the Cup Series, I just try to, frankly, last throughout the season and then take a long off-season rest. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm saying that's the situation and the competitiveness of the NASCAR Cup Series. There is no doubt about it. There are issues with this next-gen car. It started before the car even saw the racetrack. The sim numbers showed that there could have been some issues, and then they tried things out with the simulator and, it looked better. But then when they went to test the thing in real life, reportedly, test dummies were coming back decapitated. Huh? What was going on in these cars? There was a sincere worry at the beginning of the season that some of these drivers could be decapitated when they got into accidents. Are you kidding me? That should have been clue one that something was going on. But instead, we all kind of smiled, gritted our teeth, and went, well, the LA Coliseum is the distraction of the car problems, right? And it was. I was at that race. Nobody was thinking car issues. They were honestly thinking, how good is this new racetrack going to race? Is it going to hold up? And it did, and that wasn't the story. The story should have been, there are issues with this new car. Where did these issues stem from? This car was supposed to be safer, right? Well, here's the thing. They had to redesign the car, and because of mechanical improvements, they had to redesign the rear end, essentially creating another firewall in the rear end. And on top of all that, the rear end is a whole lot smaller than it was compared to last season. Because NASCAR shortened up that rear end, that's less crumple zone that can crash and absorb that energy impact. Now when these cars rear it into the fence, essentially, they compress what little there is to compress, and all of that force, all of that violent nature goes right into the drivers. The drivers have been privately complaining about these issues with the car since the beginning of the season, and frankly, they were tired of talking to a brick wall, so within the last few weeks, a lot of the drivers, particularly the veterans, have come out against the car, and they've been publicly calling out NASCAR. Kevin Harvick was leading the Southern 500, when, for no particular reason at all, his car spontaneously combusted. Yeah, there was a random fire that started in the front end of the car under caution. Why? Well, because of a poor design, rubber built up, got hot, and caught fire, and Kevin Harvick was out of the opening playoff race because of a bad design by NASCAR, and he was not happy about it.
The rocker panel just caught on fire. We just keep letting cars burn up, letting people crash into stuff, get hurt. Like, we don't fix anything. Now we just riding around out there and the car catches on fire, so just shitty parts.
Your attitude at this point, obviously, I mean, you've been frustrated anyway, but now it affects your race.
Yeah, well, they don't care. It's cheaper to not fix it.
How do we change it?
Find somebody to run the show that can run it.
Kevin's not happy, and he's not wrong either. There's no secret. Every single one of the drivers who have been in a Cup car, who have crashed a Cup car in 2022, all acknowledge that this is the hardest hits that they've ever taken because of a bad car design, because of flawed parts, because of flawed engineering with this car. The cars took a significant step backwards in safety, accidentally, unintentionally this year because of NASCAR. And the drivers know it. The drivers are not driving at 100% right now. And here's the proof. Noah Gragson was tapped to drive the 48 car, but when he won a race about a week ago, just a few days before finding out he's going Cup racing for the near future, he said this on SiriusXM.
I do want to add, you're going to race tomorrow on Sunday for Colleague Racing. What do you see in the race for Colleague? Given what you did today, that's just going to be, shall I say, ice cream on the cake?
No, I don't want to wreck and hurt myself.
What?
I want to focus on the Xfinity playoffs and don't want to wreck one of the Cup cars. They hurt really hard when you wreck, and so just need to stay out of trouble tomorrow and not wreck.
So you're not going to race as hard as you raced today is what you're saying, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
The position I'm in, you can't.
Because you're racing in a playoff contending.
Correct. Yeah, we're in a spot to win a championship, and if I ring my bell, it's not going to be good news.
You've been thinking about that, haven't you?
Yeah, I don't really want to run any of the Cup races for the rest of the year.
Why are you running the Cup race then?
Just because we already have sponsors sold for it, and so just try and finish all the laps and just make the most of it,
So you start 26th and you'll race carefully is what you're saying? Not stay in the back, but 26th is around trouble maybe, so where do you go to be safe? What do?
You race 80% all day and not put yourself in a bad position where you can hit the wall, because they really, really hurt, and I want to be 100% for the Xfinity car.
So what you're saying is that you fear the hits in the Cup Series more than Xfinity, obviously.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Way bad.
Yeah, how close have you come to getting that feel?
I've wrecked them. I've wrecked them in Atlanta, but I don't know. Just super thankful for today and everybody at Bass Pro Shops and Junior Motorsports, and just really excited, really focused on just going to Waffle House and celebrating tonight and having fun. We're going to Cole Swindell concert, so that'll be cool. And yeah, just gonna enjoy it.
Honestly, as somebody who's worked in professional pro sports PR for 10 plus years, he caught crap for that one. There's no doubt about it. I can guarantee you NASCAR called him probably that day and said, what you doing, Noah? I can guarantee you Junior Motorsports was freaking out over that one. I can guarantee you that Kaulig Racing in the Cup Series was certainly freaking out over that one. And I'm willing to bet a few of the Kaulig Racing sponsors might have had a thing or two to say about that. Noah Gragson took a huge risk to come out and say this. There's no doubt about it that this car needs to be redesigned immediately, like yesterday, because it is sincerely putting people's lives at risk on the racetrack. But what's the holdup? Why hasn't NASCAR done something already? Well, the simple fact of the matter is, it takes anywhere from 12 to 24 months, even up to 36 months, to successfully design, test, and implement changes. Now, does that mean that things are going extraordinarily slowly? No, it means that so much time and research is put into one of these vehicle changes that it simply requires a large amount of time. The car that we see in the Cup Series right now, this next-gen car, was developed over the course of about 5 years, from initial concept to seeing it on the racetrack. And this is what they came up with. Yes, a project that probably was rushed to market a little too soon, but nevertheless still wasn't good enough for competition. So clearly NASCAR needs more time at the shop working on this car before it's ready to race in the Cup Series. NASCAR doesn't want the teams working on this at all with them. If I were NASCAR, the compromise that I would suggest is not these engineers working for a particular race team, but instead these race teams employing engineers to work at NASCAR to develop these cars. That way, it's all done in-house with NASCAR, but still has the resources and the knowledge of these race teams, and the race teams are involved from initial concept to what we see on the racetrack. Yes, it involves a lot of work. Yes, it involves a lot of working around in security to make sure that one team isn't stealing secrets so that another team can't get it, or vice versa. That's one path that I see happening that NASCAR could or should do. Another one that might be less invasive but definitely open up the car to problems that we saw with the old car is NASCAR letting these race teams design new parts for the car and then submitting them to NASCAR. Now that would open up a can of worms with a number of other issues like supply chains, making sure that one part is as good as the rest and you don't have the good batch going to the main team and the bad batch to the rest of the NASCAR field. But NASCAR needs to work significantly faster. What are some quick fixes that NASCAR could do? Someone said, well, take Xfinity cars and race them in the Cup Series. Well, that's called an Xfinity race. We have those already. We don't need them in the Cup Series, mostly because for the smaller Cup teams that don't have a partnership with an Xfinity program, where do they get the cars? And where do the regular Xfinity drivers and series get their cars if the Cup Series start buying all the cars? It's a supply issue that would prevent this from happening. Well, can we simply go back to the car that we ran in 2021? No, because most of those cars have been sold off, scrapped, or they've been left to rot somewhere right now. Yes, some of them are being well kept in warehouses and in race shops across North Carolina right now, but a vast majority of them are gone, or they're show cars, or they're ARCA cars, and they just cannot come back. A lot of the teams removed the equipment and sold it off to make those cars, so they couldn't make them if they wanted to. So what am I saying? Am I saying, oh, the 2022 car should be left alone and it's fine, just make small improvements? Absolutely not. I can't be more clear than this. NASCAR should not hold another Cup race until further notice, period. I'm serious. And I'm not saying cancel the rest of the season. I'm saying delay the rest of the season. Put it off for a month or so. Let NASCAR work on these cars. Let NASCAR supply parts for these cars, or research and development, or something to fix these cars before they hit the racetrack again. Because at this point, we can successfully and definitely say that people's lives are on the line, and that at least 2 of them sustained potentially career-ending injuries that will affect them for the rest of their lives. Ask Dale Earnhardt Jr., the Prince of NASCAR. He will tell you that these injuries are deathly serious. Take a month off, rebuild these cars, then return to competition at the end of October, which will extend the season into mid-December. Yes, it sucks for the off-season, but guess what? We need the time in order to get these cars right. But I am a realist, and I understand that NASCAR will never do that. The Cup teams would never do that. The drivers would absolutely love to do that. I am not looking forward to Talladega this weekend, y'all. I am absolutely scared for these drivers. I'm being serious, because every time I watch a restrictor plate race, as it is, I'm holding my breath. And that was under the best, quote-unquote, of circumstances. And when was the last time anybody was confident about a restrictor plate race? Come on. We feared them for the past 15 years. I'm sincerely terrified. The highest speeds, the hardest hits, the most violent wrecks happen at this racetrack. And we're taking a very, very unsafe car out there and going 200 miles an hour. I'm not looking forward to Dega this weekend, but what do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and hit that subscribe button and like button to help support the channel. You can also follow me on social media at HeyAlanBailey, and log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Thank you so much for watching. For Shifting Gears, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see ya at the track. Be safe, gearheads.